We've always been a baseball family, so I started playing baseball when I was 3 years old. My grandfather, Joe Gantenbein, played in the major leagues with the Philadelphia A's in 1939, 1940, and then before he went to serve in the war. So baseball was kind of always instilled in my brother and I from a young age. Always played in the backyard with my brother, played pepper with my grandfather a lot when he was getting older. Just so started very young and just loved baseball from that day forward. And
What's up, guys? This is Kash, Shaikh, Chairman, CEO, and co-founder of Baseball United, the first professional baseball league in the history of the Middle East and South Asia. And you're watching the Legends on Deck podcast with my boys, Brian Koss and David Condi.
Welcome to episode 99 of the Legends on Deck podcast. I'm Brian Koss, along with my co-host, David Condi. And today's guest is the manager of the Mississippi Mud Monsters of the Frontier League, Jay Pecci. And Jay has spent a lifetime in baseball and drafted by the A's in 1998. Played in the minors, played independent ball, is now played internationally, coaching independent ball and minor league baseball. Jay, welcome to the show.
thanks for having me, guys. It's nice to meet you. I tuned into a few of your shows just to check out. You got some good episodes that I'm excited to check out later on after
Thank you.
more time.
Thank you.
Well, I appreciate that. Now, every guest that comes on, I'm going to say, you know, our previous guests watched the shows and studied us before they came on. So that's the next
right.
goal for everybody. So every question we get started with everybody, you know, we want to know where this all started for you. You know, as a kid, when you're growing up, you know, what led you to baseball? Were you a three-sport athlete? Was baseball in your family? You know, what brought baseball into your heart? What was that main? And then how did that lead you to where you're at?
We've always been a baseball family, so I started playing baseball when I was 3 years old. My grandfather, Joe Gantenbein, played in the major leagues with the Philadelphia A's in 1939, 1940, and then before he went to serve in the war. So baseball was kind of always instilled in my brother and I from a young age. Always played in the backyard with my brother, played pepper with my grandfather a lot when he was getting older. Just so started very young and just loved baseball from that day forward and played for quite a long time and just had a wonderful life in baseball. Now I'm managing for the Mississippi Mud Monsters and enjoying that part of it. The non-playing side, but the coaching and the managing has been great as well.
So your grandfather, did he give you the tools that he learned back in the olden days? You know, because obviously their game is way different from when probably you were younger. Was he able to give you some great tools?
Yeah, he gave me a lot of great tips. I mean, the main thing he'd always say is just to be loose. You got to be loose up there, stay loose. So that was always something that stuck in my head. He was never one to talk too much about himself and his career, but he'd give me little guides here and there that helped me along. Some of the things he'd say, like, okay, inside pitch, I'm having trouble hitting inside pitch. What should I do? Oh, you just, keep your hands here and step in the bucket. Yeah. So some of the stuff went against some of the things you might teach today, but it was just more his heart, his love for baseball, his love for people, his kindness that rubbed on me more than anything else.
So what about I'm assuming you played Little League and the point leagues and stuff like that. When you got into high school, what was your main position that you felt that it stuck to you?
I played shortstop in high school. Defensively was always my strength. Being a smaller guy at the time, didn't have much power. We played at a high school park that the wind was always blowing in, so it was kind of a chore to hit it out of the infield. So I wasn't like garnering much attention from anyone. I was just like kind of a solid player, just kind of a scrappy player that loved the game and hustled, things like that. So coming out of high school, I had no attention from any colleges, wasn't recruited to go anywhere. I got into Stanford academically, and I just figured I'd show up and just play on the baseball team. That's kind of how naive I was at the time. So I called the Stanford baseball coach and said, I want to come play for the team. And he kind of chuckled and said they're preseason #1 in the nation, and said to go see him when I got there for a freshman orientation. So when I got to college, that was a wake-up call because I went to meet with him, and he didn't really know who I was, and he kind of didn't want to waste my time or his time as is how he put it, but he wanted to be fair. So he said to return a few days later and he'll see if he's got a spot for me. And it just so happened, I found out later that the assistant coach, who was just coming back from pro ball, they were going to make him play in the inter squad games to kind of fill in the roster for the inter squad games in the fall. And I kind of showed up just at the right time where he said, oh, well, let's have this guy come kind of help out and serve kind of as like a student manager, fill in for the inter squads. And then I ended up making the team, actually started the first game my freshman year on the preseason ranked #1 team. So that was a big turning point for my career, and it kind of gave me confidence from there on out.
So how long did you end up staying with them?
I was with 4 years. Yeah.
And you got to play all 4 years?
Yeah. So I got a lot of playing time. We went to the College World Series a couple times, so that was a great experience. And that was another thing that kind of gave me confidence playing in front of big crowds. So after that, I was could always draw back on those experiences.
That's a good inspiration for a lot of kids that come out of high school and they just kind of give up. Here you are. You get an opportunity. You call the coach. You get yourself on the team, and then it takes off from there. So in other words, don't give up. Just because you might not get drafted, you got to be persistent and push and make the phone calls. And if you really want it.
Yeah, all you can do is control getting better every day. I mean, I try to tell my players now in the independent leagues is kind of like slightly a long shot that they'll get picked up or that they'll end up in the major leagues, but it does happen. And instead of focusing too much on where you're at, just enjoy where you are, get better every day, and that's your chance right there. I mean, every league that you're in is kind of your big leagues until you get to the big leagues, so you might as well treat it that way.
Exactly.
I was thinking about that. You said this is what year was this? This would have been in the 90s.
Yeah, 1995 is my first year.
Okay. So college baseball has obviously changed a lot since then. Modern college baseball with the transfer portal and all that. But your situation may almost apply to players today because of the transfer portal and the shifting of players from team to team, from school to school. Like if you don't get your choice, if you're a young baseball player, you might get recruited, you might not, you might need to find a place to play. But here you are going to at the time it would have been Pac-10, but now it's a big Stanford's in the ACC, aren't they?
Yes, they just moved in.
Yeah. So, but an at-large program that was successful, and you're walking on to a major college team at the time. So the way that it works now, people are shifting all over the place. So maybe that is really a great lesson for these younger kids. Like, hey, just like be persistent and pick a school you want to go to, and maybe figure the baseball side out if you're dedicated enough.
Yeah, sometimes being kind of forced into the corner makes you kind of show who you really are and kind of dig deep. So I think that would be an important thing. Not too familiar with the landscape now in college, but I know it's getting.
It just seems. I'm learning about it and I'm hearing about it from people. It just seems pretty wild. The way that people will, that these players will shift from team to team, and they get very few are getting recruited early anymore. It was like an early recruitment for a while. Like kids were getting commitments in like their freshman and sophomore years of high school. And now it's like everybody's waiting because they can shift rosters every year. So it may be a good lesson for what your experience. But you got drafted then 1998 by the Oakland A's.
Yes.
Okay, in the 11th round. So what was that like, and where did you go right after the draft, and what were those early minor league days like for you?
Yeah, we had the pre-draft meetings in college with a few scouts, and I remember talking to the A's scout and telling him that's where I wanted to go because my grandfather played for the A's, so I kind of wanted to.
Oh, yeah.
Draft day came. I was just sitting in the dorm room. You had the landline phone, so you just sit by the phone and wasn't sure what to expect. And then I got a call and said, "Hey, we got you," just like your grandfather. And it was the A's calling. It felt like out of the blue. You're sitting around for 3 or 4 hours, just kind of wondering what's going to happen. So that was exciting. Then finished with graduation and went to Southern Oregon to play short season. Back then, they still had the short season, and that was exciting. Just there was a lot of college players who go straight to the short season, and later on, I got called up to High A to finish out the last month of that season. from there, it was just kind of grinding out in the minor leagues for a long time. Got Rule 5'd over to the Mariners, so played with the Mariners as well. Got up to AAA, and then signed for a couple of years with the Giants and played in AAA.
So what was that experience like, the whole minor league journey, the bus rides, because back in those days, it was probably the way, because it's shifted over, it's gotten better. But, the pay, the living, having to find your own place, having to really like kind of grind. How was that journey for you?
Yeah, it was tough at first. I mean, you felt like back then a 7 hour bus ride and then playing felt like a really big deal for some reason. And now, after going on long road trips, much longer road trips, it's like, okay, that wasn't, that toughed me up, but that wasn't the ultimate, or that wasn't that much of a grind is what I thought. Although sometimes the buses weren't air conditioned and things like that back then. Now things have got a lot nicer, especially in affiliated baseball, where you're treated in a certain way now. But yeah, definitely just kind of makes everything in life after that much easier because you've grinded for so long and it was a daily thing. There wasn't one off day a week as there is now, which really helps to rejuvenate and kind of regenerate for the players. But the grind is still tough even today. So it's definitely a strength builder and a character builder for everyone that's playing minor league baseball.
And reaching the AAA, I mean, the highest level, you're like one step from the majors. I mean, what is the atmosphere like? I always want to ask the question of the other guys around you. Like, you all know you're one step away. So is it like you're pulling for each other? Is it more like a grind of, you kind of the competition? Like, what's that atmosphere on that level?
There's some competition, but once you're on the team, you kind of just feel like a team player, and everyone's kind of about the team. I mean, it's a little more separate in affiliated ball, where that you have to just do your job, so you don't worry too much about if the starting pitcher is not doing well. Or in independent league baseball, let's say you feel like maybe a starting pitcher is letting you down, or a reliever let you down because you're trying to win the game, and that's kind of the main focus. But in affiliated baseball, you pretty much do what you should do, which is just worry about what you can take care of and perform your role and your duty to the team. Um, it was nice in AAA just playing with, I played with Pat Borders when he was getting older, old catcher for the Blue Jays. So it was kind of fun to relate with those kind of guys and to be in the same locker room as them. And you just learn so much.
And I'm sure in spring training you got to see a lot of the bigger guys too, right? Just kind of like in the mix, learning from them. You got the major league guys. You kind of intertwine with them. Did you ever get invited to spring training or kind of be around that atmosphere a lot?
Yeah, I got to play in a few spring training games. I was with Ichiro for
Yeah,
a
that's
few
cool.
games, which was nice and always fun to say and always fun to talk about. Just to watch him, how he goes about his business. I'd be in the weight room with him early in the morning, and he'd have a couple assistants kind of massaging him as he did type exercise on the floor, so you could see his flexibility. But he's also getting a lot of help with that, and he was kind of just the way he went about his business. It was from early in the morning till late, just doing a lot of unique, unorthodox things, but made him a great player, and it was just always fun to just be a part of that, somehow connected.
I want to say one thing about spring training. Guys that, let's say, for guys like you didn't make the majors, you don't make that level, but you're in this organization, you're within the system, you're getting all the training. Being invited to a big league spring training is a big deal. I mean, you may not be quote unquote in the major leagues come April 1st, whenever the season starts, but in that time in spring training, like, you're with the big guys, you're learning, you're gaining all that knowledge and experience. And and I think it helps you in any different way. It can help you on the field, can help you in life. I think that's a huge accomplishment, I should say, for anyone who's played minor league baseball, that to get that experience to be on a major league spring training squad and playing the game like that. It's a huge accomplishment, no matter what happens in their career. Like you said before, everything you reach that certain level, that might just be the level you reach at. But getting to that higher level and getting that experience, I think it's also, my perception is, propelled you to where you're at today. So I think all of that experience is great.
Yeah, I think even the independent league players that I have, I tell them that it's really no small thing that you've done so far with your career, just kind of separating yourself from the amateur ranks and getting to pro ball. So it's all great.
Yeah, absolutely. So you went on from playing affiliate ball, you went and ended up playing on the independent side as well, and then also internationally. What got you overseas to play baseball, or what prompted that that new frontier for you?
I had a manager in independent ball, Mike Marshall, who played with outfield for the Dodgers for many years, and he was with me my last year in independent leagues, and he was headed to Italy. He ended up taking another job later on, but he's the one that kind of said, "Hey, I want to take you to Italy with me." So I ended up in Italy, and then the manager that turned out to manage that team ended up going to Germany after that. So I ended up kind of following him to Germany and then loving it out there and kind of doing like a manager slash player role for a while there.
Wow. So we've had a few. Well, actually, we've had a variety of guests that have played international baseball or coached international baseball too. And we always hear about the game and of course in Japan and on in the Far East, but also obviously the Caribbean and Central America. It's grown so much. Counts for now 40% of major league players. But what's the scene like in Europe? Like like it seems to me that baseball has slowly trickled upward in Europe in terms of interest and popularity and development. What's that like?
Yeah, it's gradually growing in both of those places in Italy and Germany. But the main thing is the people that are into baseball there are like really into baseball, so it makes it
Ah,
fun atmosphere. So it's kind of like this different kind of intensity for the kind of the oddballs in Germany that love baseball instead of soccer. So that it was fun to coach. I would coach the youth, the kids out there, and then coach also the team that I was playing for. In Italy, it was special time. I mean, just to be there, to live that lifestyle. We'd have a game on Friday and then a doubleheader on Saturday. And between doubleheaders, they just feed you pasta. You'd eat big cubes of Parmesan cheese, and then there'd be a 3-hour break in between games, which is kind of unheard of. There's not, so you'd be like,
after that big
"How am I
meal,
going
you're
to
not
get?
going to run back out and play again, right?
Yeah, how am I going to get through the second game?"
That's pretty interesting. Yeah, they because it does seem, and I think we've had a few guests that have talked about this, but yeah, that intensity, I guess for the game, it's a niche and it's maybe a small in terms of the general population, but with the World Baseball Classic and with the international tournaments that are happening, we just never think of baseball being outside of like I said, Latin America and Asia and the United States. We just, but the fact that it's growing on, and now we've been plugged in with Baseball United too, that's taken it to the Middle East and other places. So it's good to hear that baseball has such a big reach internationally, and you got to experience that firsthand.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it was a great life. When I wasn't sure what I was going to do before I ended up going to Germany, the call came kind of late, and I said, yeah, I might as well continue my career and go out there. And then all of a sudden, I'm in an apartment like Castle View. There's a castle with right there, so I'm like, okay, I think I made the right choice. So it's
There
just
you go.
a nice way to travel around and still play baseball and be part of the game.
So you played over there, you coached over there, managed. What brought you back to the States? You mentioned, or we mentioned that you kind of coached within the Mets organization. So what led you to there? Was it someone saw you, or did just share with us that connection?
Yeah, I just kind of felt that okay, I've played for so long. I'm getting older now. It's time to start coaching somewhere. So I just kind of sent some resumes out, and I grew up a Mets fan. So when I was young, there was an older kid in the neighborhood that got me into Darryl Strawberry. Said we got to start collecting his card. Strawberry was going to be great. It was like 1983, 1984. My brother became a big Mets fan. We loved Darryl Strawberry, and then they won the World Series in '86. So we were kind of hooked on the Mets. So up until this day, my family, they watch the Mets games every day. And my brother especially, he just hasn't missed a pitch for years. So I sent resumes out, and my best option ended up being the Mets. So everything kind of worked out perfectly. It's kind of this funny story. It was a long interview process. Some months went by, and I was like, "Am I still in the running?" I wasn't quite sure, and I got a call one day from the hitting coordinator, and he said, "Hey, I'm sure a lot of people have called you, but I just wanted to welcome you to the Mets." And then we talked a little bit of hitting, but conversation seemed a little strange, like I was a player, as he was talking to me as if I was a player. So I got off the phone. My family happened to be at the house. I was like, "Hey, I got the job. I'm with the Mets now." And everyone was excited. Then an hour later, I got a call back, and the guy said, "I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry." you on the list with the players. So I was calling the free agent players that we saw with them. So then I was like, so is this a no, or is this still a maybe, or what's going to happen? And then another month went by and I ended up getting the job. And I know that hitting coordinator was very relieved when he went to interview me and said, okay, I was hoping that you do a good job and get the job, because I felt so bad, like, leading you on like that.
Well, I don't think it would have been a bad thing if you got on as a player. All right, being a Mets fan, I would be like, okay, I'm showing up tomorrow. Put me wherever you want to put me.
I should have went that. That would have been the move, I think.
So you ended up leading the Complex League Mets, was in 23 to the best record.
Yes,
in the season.
Yeah, that was my first true managing job. Before that, I filled in a little bit managing in AAA. I was a bench coach in Syracuse. Was at kind of all different levels at different jobs, mostly bench coach before that. I was always the infield coach, sometimes outfield coach, base running coach. So it was just a great experience for 6 years with the Mets.
So I have to say, I don't know if you can see my Mets stuff behind me, but being a lifelong Mets fan, what was it like, walking on the field, wearing the official Mets uniform, being a fan, and saying, wow, I'm part of the organization I grew up watching? What was that excitement like?
It was great. It's probably exactly what you would imagine it would be like. The first day I got on the job, I was there early. I was sitting in the locker room kind of out of sorts, like wondering what's going to happen. And for me, since a rookie coach, I had kind of a makeshift locker that was like attached to the wall. And I was sitting there trying to be inconspicuous. And all of a sudden, the whole thing collapsed on me from the wall. That caused a stir. And Terry Collins, who I'm sure you know, would manage the Mets for many years, he was like, oh, just take this locker over here. There's like an empty locker. And I was like, I'm not sure, but Terry Collins was telling me to do it. So I moved my stuff into that locker, went out to the field for a couple hours. When I came back, all the stuff was back in the original locker. So it was just meeting all those guys. Like, I love the 86 Mets. And towards the end, I ended up meeting almost, most of the guys from that team. I worked a lot with Tim Tuffle, being an infield coach, and he was the infield coordinator. So just formed some good relationships with Mookie Wilson some days. There was first day of practice. I go out there, got my Mets jersey, feeling good, and all the coaches are kind of by the warning track of a minor league field, just shagging balls for the hitters and helping out. And I met Andy Chavez, and so I'm talking to Andy Chavez a little bit by the warning track, and all of a sudden someone hits a ball that's headed over the fence, right? And Andy Chavez right next to me jumps up and home run like he did against the Cardinals. And I'm thinking, I'm in some sort of dream right now, because this is crazy. What are the chances of that happening the day I meet Andy Chavez?
That's crazy.
So for years, it was kind of a string of all those kind of experiences. I ended up getting to meet Darryl Strawberry.
Oh, wow.
Great. Doc Gooden. So it was just really, really cool. Yeah.
I'll say quick, my own experience with that in 2014, I got to cover the Mets in spring training through a website called Metsmerize Online. And so they say, okay, we're going to send you to there. Jay Horwitz was the guy that, I didn't know Jay at the time, but he says, meet with Jay and you get your creds and everything. So I walk into the clubhouse and I froze, because I walked in as a fan, and I didn't know, and I knew a lot of the minor league guys. And I walked in, I saw David Wright and Granderson, and I'm like, oh my God, what am I doing here? And I ran out to outside. The security guard told me, no, go back in, your report. I went back in again, and it's just like, wow, just to be, obviously to come up with your the team you love, but just to be in that atmosphere, that experience with the ball players, it's just a different world. It's a different world when people don't understand that, like, you got the game going on, but when you could be in that baseball world with that family, it's just special.
Yeah.
Just this experience that's special. So I'm assuming, I can imagine your time on the field with the Mets and coaching and that experience of actually having the best record, that 2023 season was an amazing milestone for you. And overall with everything.
Yeah, it was just great to have access to all those players that played for the Mets and ask them questions any time of the day. And so I got to definitely learn a lot and just be part of that whole thing. It was great.
So you do all the managing and affiliate ball. How did Andrew steal you away from that?
So when I was not renewed from the Mets last year, then I was kind of searching around to see what I wanted to do. And then got a call from the Mississippi Bud Monsters, and Andrew ended up interviewing with the owner, Joe Ang, Brian Leiter, the president of the sports company that runs the Mississippi Bud Monsters. And just seemed like a great fit right from the get-go. Just the interview process was great, where I could just kind of be who I was and kind of speak about, what I've learned and what I want to teach the players, and everything just kind of fit into place. And then it ended up being a great experience this year. And it was a great inaugural season for us just to get started and to be part of the Frontier League.
There are a couple questions about that. So we've actually talked to several people that have been in the Frontier League. But we always go back to that minor league contraction, right? So what's I don't know, after COVID, when they contracted the affiliate ball into just, and there's even rumors that they may do it further at some point. How does that play into the importance of independent ball as a development league for, that I know there's several independent leagues, Frontier being one of the probably premier ones. How does that play into the whole professional baseball scene? What do you see the goals and purposes of independent ball to be?
Yeah, it definitely boosted the talent in independent leagues. I mean, I was with the Mets when that contraction happened, and players with the Mets that were really good players weren't really getting a shot because there just wasn't a spot. So, the prospects were getting the playing time, and guys that I thought had a good chance to maybe make the major league someday were getting no at-bats. So I think independent league, especially for the players, is a great thing because they can go and get 400 at-bats in a season, while if they were still in affiliated ball, maybe they're getting 30, 40 at-bats as a backup catcher or something like that. So
Sure.
There's a great opportunity, I think, in the independent leagues to kind of be left alone in the sense to just kind of collect experience and get at-bats and get the playing time that young players need, because they don't really know at a certain point what they're going to become until you get out there on the field. And so you can, in some ways, get trapped in affiliated ball if you're a backup and not really get a shot to find out how good you could actually be. But I reached out to the University of Southern Mississippi because we're always trying to draw on the colleges in that area. There's a lot. We picked up a player who wasn't really getting recognized by anybody. We decided to take a chance on him, and he comes out. He's throwing 96 with a great curveball, and within 3 weeks, the Brewers picked him up, took him from us, and he actually got to start recently in AAA, to kind of a fill-in start in AAA, but he's settling into high A and doing a great job. So it can happen quickly for those guys. I mean, he wasn't doing anything special other than, staying ready and staying prepared and trying to get as good as he can until someone called. But there was a chance that, no one would have called, and he would have said, oh, well, no one's called for a year, I'll give it up. But,
yeah, so they're like independents really playing, like kind of filling that gap, right? Yeah. So like, and it helps people that may have slipped through the cracks. Because, and you mentioned Southern Mississippi, where you're at in Mississippi, like it's a huge college baseball scene there. So yeah, Southern Miss, Ole Miss, Mississippi State. I mean, that's actually probably, if not maybe probably the most dedicated college baseball state in the country.
Yeah, I mean, they're baseball crazy in that area, which definitely helps draw fans and draw players.
So does that fuel? That probably will help fuel your roster, but also just correct me if I'm wrong, but there was an affiliate team that played where you guys are playing now.
Yeah, Trustmark Park was where the Braves had their AA team for over 20 years.
So it was the Mississippi Braves place. Yeah,
they moved to Gwinnett, I believe, in Georgia to be close to Atlanta. And so we lucked out, and we have the best stadium in the league and huge clubhouse, great facilities. We got the 3 batting cages, so we're far and beyond above a lot of the other teams as far as facilities and everything. So that's a great drawing point as well. I mean, you walk into that and you just feel like a big leaguer, or at least a double A player. So
and that's helpful. And it does that fuel like the fan experience, the attendance, and all that is like it's kind of stuck with the team as they've transitioned from a Braves affiliate to an independent team.
Yeah, we were able to transfer over a lot of the fans, and we're more a part of the community. The Braves were focused on getting their guys to the major leagues, but we're more community, and we're trying to have events there in the off season, concerts, all kinds of attractions to the park. So they're really been like a big part of the community, and the players have done a great job of, helping out with that. So it's definitely something that's building fast, and it's it's a great situation there.
And sorry, Andrew spoke very highly of you when he shared who you were to me. And some of the things he mentioned was, you not only were you a great with the ball players and development, and you had a great first season, but you're also in the grind of helping to get this going and helping to bring the team together and create this organization. Well, share a little bit of like the beginning start of it. Like, what was that like getting it going from the ground up and then seeing it where it's at right at the end of the summer?
Yeah, we weren't sure what to expect. I knew Andrew, he got off to a little bit of a head start there, but we had a few months to prepare for the season. Andrew, got to give him credit, but he was doing all the work and I was trying to help out wherever I could and just kind of going along and doing the baseball side of it. But when I showed up, I wasn't sure what's going to happen. Is there going to be baseballs? The player's going to have helmets for the first game. So he was taking care of all that and he did a great job. And by the halfway point of the season, we had everything settled. We're now going to be one of the better teams as far as being organized and being ready and having the good situation for the players.
What experience is that like coming from affiliate ball where everything is there, what you need, but coming to a new team with independent and, drawing those fans and like, what has that experience been like this summer to kind of like where it started and then you see where it's at right now, like all of that together, that grind, like what did that, just share the experience that you've had this summer with that.
Yeah, I think it was actually a lot more similar than I expected because it kind of seemed like, every day a unique problem would come up that you couldn't prepare for and you just deal with it. And you just do that day after day until things are solved. But as far as the players, it's you relate to them basically in the same way as you would an affiliated. Like with the players, the same things come up. You can't expect any issues. You can't prepare for them, but something different will come up. And as a manager, that's kind of your job to deal with. It's not so much the strategy and the X's and O's of it as you think. It's more these are human beings that are going through different things in their life and calming them down or helping them out or giving them the right advice or just kind of letting them feel good with where they're at in their life so that they can go perform and play well.
Where's the furthest you had a ball player come from?
Probably California. We had a few guys from California. Being one of the only independent league teams in the South, that was a great draw for guys that live locally. So it helped boost our roster quite a bit. We plan on doing even more of that in the future, but it's always good to get a few California guys where I'm originally from.
Brian is more on understanding the independent side than I am. Do you keep the ball players year round? Sorry, every year the same ball players. You kind of transition guys out. What is that process of bringing ball players in? And, how do they stay on? If they stay on, do they go other places?
Yeah, I think the biggest disadvantage this year was just not having a core of players that you can count on that but we had quite a few guys that excelled this year that I, plan on bringing back. Life changes a lot of things for different guys. Some guys retire, some guys, get a better opportunity somewhere, get picked up or, but I intend on bringing a certain core back. And other than that, you just kind of upgrade as things filter out guys that aren't team players that don't really get what's going on and aren't a part of the mission to win a championship. You always want the guys that are 100% dedicated to baseball and feel like if they give it their all, they have a chance to get picked up and go to affiliated baseball. So I'm always looking for guys with great routines that they're all in with baseball and it's not like a little side gig. So just trying to weed out guys that aren't team players and eventually just build off this core. So it'll be a lot easier this year than starting from scratch.
And the Frontier League, you guys are somewhat partnered with MLB. So is there like a somewhat that they kind of like they know you're there or they kind of work something with the ball players? How does that work with the partnership?
Yeah, one of the good things that Frontier League has is the TrackMan at every stadium. So the scouts do come to our games, but every affiliated team has access to all the information from their pitchers, and they can tell a lot by metrics and stuff whether they want to take a look at certain pitchers. So that's a great thing for the players just to have a chance to be looked at, and someone's always kind of following what they're doing. There's a lot of players that just missed the draft that come to our team or another team in the Frontier League, and there's still an eye on them from the Brewers or the Rockies or something that are keeping an eye on that player to see how they develop, and if things go right, they might snatch them up right away because they've had a history of watching that player in college, and they're just missed just missed out on draft. The draft goes 20 rounds now. So, as a manager, I'm looking for those guys that would have went 21st through 25 that didn't get taken to bring to my team. But a lot of those players are also on the radar of affiliated scouts, and they're being watched. So
I guess it's if you have a great season, if you have some great core ball players, right, and you win a championship, let's say, and then in your league, and then you're looking forward to next year, and all of a sudden a bunch of them get snatched up, it's almost like, oh man, I lost them, but it also looks good for your program that you got guys drafted and to play.
Yeah.
So it's almost like it can draw more ball players to come to you. Like, wow, this organization is doing what they need to do to get us to the next level. So you may lose some ball players, but actually winning in the long run.
yeah, I've kind of already decided that no matter what player gets picked up, I'm not going to think ill of it at all. I'm going to be excited. And I definitely was excited when we had our two pitchers get picked up this year. That gives all the other players hope that what they're doing is that they're on the right track. So I noticed that when players got picked up from our team, we actually performed better in the next few weeks after. Just everyone knows, okay, this is a real option. This is a real possibility. And then just to be happy for, having played so long myself, and I was in independent league baseball trying to get picked back up, to see someone get picked up is exciting for me on a personal level. So, before they left, I tried to give them as much info as I could about what's going to happen when they get to that complex, or when they start having a nutritionist, weightlifting coach, and all the different departments that they're going to go through in a single day, and kind of explain the lay of the land for them, so they're ready to hit the ground running when they get there and feel more comfortable.
Awesome.
Yeah. So if you take, so you've had I would say your career has been very well rounded, right? So you've done a little bit, you've done everything in baseball, from a player perspective, the different levels, coaching perspective. Now you've seen it at different levels. What do you think? What are your goals maybe for the next few years here with Mississippi, and what do you see? Where do you see this thing going over the next, maybe couple seasons or 2 to 5 years?
Yeah. My first goal would be to kind of establish the Mississippi Mud Monsters as a powerhouse in the league. That would be something. There's a few other teams in this league, like Quebec Capitale, Schaumburg Boomers, have just had like a long-standing success and things like that. So definitely trying to move in that direction, and that's the goal for now. In the future, I'm not just as a player, I wasn't trying to think too much a step ahead, because it sometimes detracts from what I'm trying to do. So I'm just trying to be the best coach I can, and trying to learn as much as I can and gain experience as a manager. I said a long time ago that would be my dream, would be to manage in the major leagues. Being a bench coach in the major leagues is also quite a nice job as well. You don't get the pressure and the backlash that the manager does. You get to do
Sounds like a better job to me.
So anywhere I can help players and kind of stay connected to the game is great. I do have lofty goals like deep down inside, but
Sure.
I also enjoy where I'm at now, and it was a great year this year, and I had a lot of fun, and hopefully help develop a lot of players to become what they need to become. So,
I think finishing 2 games over 500 is a plus in any, especially for a first season, right? Showing that you have a positive in it. You guys finished in 3rd place. It's your first season. You finished on a win streak. So at the end of the day, there's a lot of positives that came out of having your first season managing, independent ball, and wherever your future takes you. It's only can go up from here. We want to say that, right? But it can, because you have everything. You have the right leadership in place, and you have the right team that you need. And then, you had a great season. That's only going to be able to build up from there.
Yeah, to have technically a winning record the first year was a success in itself. During the season, of course, your goals were to win the championship and things like that. But looking back now, after a few days, the season ended. To have a winning record and to have like a good start to the Mississippi Monsters was very important. And there's a lot of things I learned throughout the way that can maybe increase like the margins of success. So there's some easy things, I think, some low-hanging fruit that we can address that will help us win a few more games. And then having the nice core in place is really going to help. So excited for the years to come.
That's awesome.
For sure, yeah. I think, kind of a final thought, I think what you guys are doing, what your careers look like, and as when we talk to people that work in baseball and they have, their own paths, and you've had your own path. Um, I think it's important, just the life lessons, just you got to stay, focused and nimble and kind of willing to, find your niche in your next level. Baseball really seems to teach a lot of people those lessons, because those of us that are out in the world doing other things too, we always have to learn those lessons as well. But baseball kind of keeps you honest to the moment, right? Um,
Exactly.
so we appreciate you coming on to tell us those stories, because I always walk away from these podcasts when we do them, David. I'm sure you too. And we've talked about it, but just different perspectives on things, right? It's like, you hear how things, the path. I should say this: the path is not always. We think of professional baseball, professional athletes, people in that industry as the path being like linear, right? Like it's just a constant rise to the top. Whereas when you really dig into it, you learn that it's here, 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 in all different directions, right? So it's great you need a positive attitude, and you need a forward thinking mindset to do the things that you're doing.
Yeah, that's definitely true. I think that I've coached with guys in rookie ball that were major league championships, won World Series and stuff, and they chose to be at the rookie level, for example. Then you have
Yeah.
grinding in AAA, so there's no really hierarchy of it. I mean, of course, you want the major league jobs and everything, but sometimes it's more important to be in single A where all the prospects are than to be in AAA where maybe some guys are winding down their career. So it just fluctuates, and you never know. I mean, your job is just to help players get better, to coach them, and that's really all you can do.
Yeah, that's great. Um, Good story. Thank you very much, Jay, for joining us today on the podcast. We're letting you know you are episode 99.
Oh,
So
just 100. What do you get if you're the 100?
you are just, yeah,
Well,
you
yeah,
are not,
that's good.
but
We're keeping that one under wraps. We're gonna let that come out of the bag once we get the date set in. But yeah,
this is a pivotal episode,
yes.
though. This is, David and I joke all the time. We probably mentioned it dozens of times on this podcast. But when we started it in 2021, our goal, I told David, I said, I was reading stuff about podcasts, and like what they say is if you make it to 20, then you have some staying power, right? The 20 is like somehow the magic number for podcasts that stick around. And then we made it to 20 very easily. And then we got to like 50. And then we're like, okay, we're at like 75. I guess we're sticking around.
Yeah,
Yeah,
So,
we're gonna do this till we retire. We could just every couple of weeks, a month, get together. Hey, let's just bring someone on the show and talk about baseball. So
yeah,
I,
yeah. So you guys run the gamut of different guests. I'm excited. I'm gonna start checking you out in this off season now that I have some time. Start.
yeah, it's been fun because, everybody's got their own story. Like, we could bring on a player that's like we had our last episode, we had a World Series champion on, and that's a great story, and it's his own story, and certain people are interested. But we'll bring on, we'll have high school coaches on our program, and they have a great story and an interesting perspective on things. And we've done it all. Like we've done it at all different people in baseball at different levels, and broadcasters. We've had broadcasters for minor league teams on our show, so it's just you get a different angle of it,
Yeah,
and it's all part of the game, and it's all part of something that we all love. So, it's just been a great journey so far, even, through 99 episodes.
yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm managing a little league team now, and I'll peek at the other fields to see what these other coaches are doing. Even
Oh,
though
there you go.
even though I'm a professional manager, they still have some good ideas that we can draw on. So listening to your podcast, I'm sure you get a lot of
Yeah,
insights.
we've got some in there. We've got some younger,
actually,
some amateur
we
coaches in
actually had
there.
umpires in there, so I think we might want to bring in another umpire to figure out why the strike zone is all over the place.
Maybe not for number 100. I don't know if
No,
anyone.
no, no, no.
Yeah, exactly. Well, thank you, Jay.
Thank
We
you. Thanks a
appreciate your
lot.
time today. Good luck with enjoy the off season, and we'll look forward to seeing what the Mud Monsters do again next year.
All right. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. It's fun.
All right,
All
well,
right.
signing off on number 99. 100 is next, so We're excited. We're getting there. And just don't forget to subscribe to the YouTube page. This way you don't miss another episode. All right, guys. Thank you.